You know the vibes. We are back for another episode of the Hoop Genius podcast brought to you by NBA 2K23. Myself, Mo Mutsi, alongside BJ Armstrong. As always, BJ, welcome back. Welcome back.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful to be
Good
back.
to see you.
It's beautiful to be back. As always.
It's great to see
As
you.
always.
It's great to see you.
It's great to see you. I wish I would have saw you in Salt Lake City. You
know?
Oh,
man.
But, hey, I guess you got to come to Indy next year. I guess you got to come to Indy.
BJ.
I guess you got to come to
I got to be training in the gym. I got 12 months now. You know what I'm saying? 12 months.
Hey, you better get ready.
I watched that.
So I'm going to see you at Indy.
I watched it this year.
I bet you did.
I'm worried. Shall I tell you why?
Who
I'm
got
worried?
the MVP?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. But do you know why I'm worried? There's this one guy, DK Metcalf. Bruh.
Oh, yeah.
This guy's an animal. See him jumping, touching the ceiling. He's got more hops than NBA. Who the hell is this guy? He's the guy who's going to stop me scoring. Who the hell is he?
Hey,
celebrity supposed to be
all I know
like
is
I'm just going to make sure I'm on his team.
You promised 30.
I'm coming. You say Giannis is coming. I'm on my way. So
okay,
all of that aside, let's break down All-Star Weekend because you were there watching it live in the flesh. Did you go to the Rising Stars on Friday night?
I did not. I must admit, I did not. I didn't get to that event. I did not get to that event. However, I did watch it. I did watch it.
And what were your thoughts?
The format throws me off.
Yeah. I liked it when it was rookies versus sophomores, that was great. Or when it was Team World versus Team USA, that was fantastic as well.
Yeah.
This tournament stuff.
I don't get it. Like it doesn't, you played 40 points or something. It doesn't.
It's like a target score. And then the final is to 25, so it's less than the warm-up games.
Yeah, it's like 8 baskets the way these guys play. Everyone's shooting threes, 8 or 9 baskets now. So, I don't know what to think of it most. So I didn't really think much of it. I was at first, I was like, I was gonna get over there, and then I was like, when I saw the format, I was like, yeah.
BJ too busy turning up. BJ said, I'm gonna make All-Star, I'm gonna make Salt Lake City lit for the weekend.
I was in Salt Lake City. There's no turning up there.
What was the vibes like? What was the vibe going on like? Did you go to Kenny Smith's party?
Very, very, very nice. You know what? I can't kiss and tell. I experienced. I can't kiss and tell.
Metaphorically speaking, just in case Mrs. Armstrong is listening. Metaphorically speaking.
No. Mrs. Armstrong understands. She understands. This generation may not understand, but that generation understands. Hey, I was at All-Star Weekend. It was a great weekend. And that's all you can say. Like,
okay. I can see the smile on your face. I see the smile on your face.
I saw everyone I needed to see. It was phenomenal. Now, where you went, how you went. Hey, Mama,
okay. Let's get back to the games then. Let me take you to All-Star Saturday night because a lot of people weren't looking forward to it, but I thought it was surprisingly good. Let's start with the skills challenge. What did you think of the skills challenge? Because I personally hated the skills challenge this year.
It's not like it. Mo, when I'm looking at this, and again, I'm just looking at it for its value of what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Professional sports. I don't care what sport it is. Football for you guys, American football for us, baseball, basketball, rugby, whatever it is.
Hey.
Sports is about 3 things. Okay, it's about 3 things. 1,
winning.
Competition. All right. People love, when you watch the Olympics, I love to see the events where people are competing. Countries and these young people are competing. That's like, you're seeing people compete at the highest form, right? They're dedicating their lives
to
this one event, right?
Yeah.
That's a phenomenal thing. Second, we love to see people who compete and then win. We love to see that.
Yes.
And then third, the thing we love to see, Mo, is, it's entertaining.
Yeah.
The entertainment. When you see these great stars or your heroes and you see them perform, right? When you see a great, soccer player, football,
Messi,
one of Messi or someone like that, you go,
Benzema.
Wow.
Yeah.
You just go, wow. You see these phenomenal athletes, whatever sport, you go, wow. So the entertaining. So
yeah.
You see people compete. Professional sports is about competition. It's about winning, and it's entertaining. Mo, I didn't see much competing there.
Yeah. So the skills challenge, like they changed the format, right? For me, a skills challenge.
Yeah, I did.
Remember the year where they had Kobe, D Wade, LeBron, and who was the fourth? They had someone else who was like a star, right? And the skills challenge used to be, you have a course, you got to do some dribbling, passing, layup, dunk, shoot a 3-pointer, whatever. That's testing your skills, right? And you see the best of the best going at it. And that was fantastic. They wanted to mix it up a little bit. So then they had it where it was two people going at the same time, racing against each other. I think that was even better. And then they had it where it was bigs versus guards, which I thought was pretty interesting. And that was still good to watch. This year, they had 3 teams, Team Antetokounmpo, Team Utah Jazz, and Team Rookies. Ain't no one trying to see respectfully, I say this with respect, but the fans aren't trying to see Walker Kessler doing a skills challenge. The fans are trying to see De'Aaron Fox racing down the court doing a skills challenge. The fans aren't trying to see Thanasis Antetokounmpo passing the basketball. The fans are trying to see Tyrese Halliburton passing the basketball. The fans aren't trying to see, the rookies not being able to make a single shot in a minute. The fans are trying to see the best shot makers in the thing. So if we're going to do a skills challenge, instead of doing teams so everyone's included and Giannis can bring his family and the home team can be recognized, let's just bring the most skilled players to do the skills challenge, have them race against each other so it's competitive, as you said, have the best talents out there so it's entertaining, as you said, and it will be great. That's the one thing, that and the 3-point contest are the things that never needed to change, ever.
Exactly.
They're perfect how they are.
I agree. I love competition. Like, I would watch those things because you would see, like, people compete. You go, man, I really want to see De'Aaron Fox speed versus Ja Morant speed.
Exactly.
I want to see Luka Doncic's passing versus whatever,
Bro,
I'm want to see, like, all of it.
I'm watching Giannis's brother from the G League trying to make bounce passes into a target for a minute. I didn't even understand the format, and I'm there and I'm covering it. Like, it made no sense. The talent wasn't what people wanted to see. I'm praying that they go back to the original skills contest and actually get the players that we want to see involved. That's all I can say on that. But
I agree.
The 3-point contest, that's not really changed. That kind of stays consistent. 5 racks of balls. They added like the long distance shot now for the sponsor, which is fair enough. And also the range is extended. So that's great to see as well. What do you think of the 3-point contest?
You know,
do you want to know what was funny?
I don't know what to think.
Jason Tatum pump faking in a 3-point contest because he's so used to it in the games.
I thought it would come down to 2 guys. Buddy Hield. By the way, I want to say this about Buddy Hield. Buddy Hield can shoot.
Oh yeah, everyone knows.
I mean, I always knew he could. Yeah, but he can really shoot. Like, I didn't know he could really shoot. Like, I was like, Buddy Hield can really shoot. Dame Lillard, Buddy Hield, it should have came down to those 2, and that's what it came down to. And they were like a shot or 2 away. Well, either one of them could have won.
Tyrese Halliburton impressed me the most. He tied Steph Curry's record for the most threes made in a round with 31 in the first round with his ugly shot.
Yeah.
Shout out to him.
Well, being a participant in that, right? It's a different way to shoot, right? I was not very good at shooting off the racks, and you got to catch it. You get it really is.
And, you don't get to bounce, like, you just have to pick it up and shoot.
It's like and the thing is you once you make like 2 or 3, you catch a rhythm. You catch a you got to catch a rhythm. So I give those guys credit for doing it, and Halliburton caught a rhythm. However, the key to that is not expending a lot of energy while you're shooting.
Yeah.
And Buddy Hield and Damian Lillard and those guys, I think one year I was in there with Reggie Miller and those guys, and you could tell the guys who kind of figure that out. And I didn't figure that out.
Yeah.
When you shoot off of the things. But I think overall it was good. I thought Dame was good. It had a little excitement. So I liked it. And the guys seemed like they were competing. Jason Tatum clearly was competing.
No.
I thought Buddy Hield was competing. I thought the guys were competing. So I respected that one.
Now let's get to the main event. The slam dunk contest, which many people said was a dead event now. And it actually took a G Leaguer to, first of all, I want to say this. When I talk about securing the bag, I got to give a round of applause to Mac McClung because the week he just had, Monday signs a contract with the Sixers. Now, I don't know whether or not they wanted to sign him or whether the NBA wanted someone to sign him so he could be on an NBA team to participate in a dunk contest, right?
I think you know what it was.
But shout out to him for getting the contract anyway. Number two, on Tuesday, he signs a contract with Puma. Because in my column that I wrote on my newsletter, which you can subscribe to for free in the comments in the description of this podcast, I postured why sneaker brands don't make a bigger deal of the dunk contest, because the whole Air Jordan thing is based on Air Jordan, taking flight and hang time, XYZ. So for sneaker brands, the dunk contest is an opportunity to show that your sneakers have the most bounce, right? Puma obviously must have read that because on Tuesday they signed Mac McClung to a sneaker deal. And then on Saturday night, he comes in and puts on a historic performance for the ages. He went from 91,000 followers to 1 million followers overnight. His brand is now, he's a household name in every home in America that watched the dunk contest. He's put himself on the map. Whether or not he stays in the NBA or whatnot, he has secured the bag. So shout out to Mac McClung. But I want to get your reactions to watching that dunk contest.
I want to give him, listen, I thought the contest itself, without my knowing anything, like if I would just, I just always try to look at it for what it is. I thought it was fantastic for him. Talking about Matt McClung. Is that how you pronounce his name? McClung?
Mac McClung.
Matt McClung.
Mac, M-A-C. I just said he was a household name, BJ.
Yeah, I know. Unfortunately, my understanding, he's an Instagram star.
Yeah, so when he was in high school, he was after Zion, he was the most followed, like the most exciting high school talent. Not in terms of a prospect, just because he was exciting to watch.
Yeah, okay. So excuse me, I'm not familiar. However, I was really excited for him, right? The fact that he came out there, he had nothing to lose. I mean, what did he have to lose?
Nothing.
He wasn't supposed to be there anyway. He had nothing to lose. And the thing I really respect is he was prepared and he performed when the lights were the brightest. Now, but my question is to all those players that are in the NBA, what's going on? Like everyone's like, okay, why are we not participating? What's going on here? That's what's going on? I don't understand.
What do you think would make them participate? And what made guys want to participate before? And what's changed?
Mo, I don't know what's changed. And I'm not going to pretend to know what's changed without having an opportunity to talk to these individuals, in private, right? And I'm not the guy that's trying to put these guys on blast, right? Meaning, the old guy who says, "Whoa, back in the day when we did it, Dr. J, he did it, and Jordan and Dominique, and okay, all right, whatever." Clearly, there's something going on, Mo. Clearly, there's something going on, and you being closer to age to these players than I am at this stage of my life, you probably would know better than me. Okay, I don't know why you wouldn't participate. Seems like a fun event. Seems like, hey, I get an opportunity to go out there and
build your personal brand,
in front
get
of a
more
crowd,
sponsors.
it seems like, everyone says they, as you would say, secure the bag. Seems like, hey, if I went out there, I'm imagining that most of these players, they in their shoe deal with their companies, if you win the dunk contest, you probably get an extra, your incentive to get. So I don't understand why you wouldn't do it. Like, it doesn't make sense for me why you wouldn't do it. Now, so I would be fascinated to have one of these young guys come on to explain to you and I and our audience why they didn't want it. I don't know. It doesn't make sense in my way of thinking, but I'm not playing anymore, Mo. I mean, I'm a guy, and but I don't get it though. I don't understand it.
Walk me through what your reaction was when you saw those dunks from Nate McMillan, because they were simply spectacular.
Yeah,
were you hyped? Were you like jumping out of your chair, hyped like everyone else, or were you kind of just?
No. Because I listen. I mean, listen. What is he? He's got to be about 6 something, right? 6'1", 6'2".
Yeah, he's like 6 foot.
My whole life, I've been seeing guys from Spud Webb and these guys that could always dunk. Like, watching a guy 6'1", 6'2", like, I want to see something more I haven't seen before. Like, when I saw the last time I jumped out of my seat, right? When I remember watching Vince Carter, I was like, oh, wow, I hadn't seen that before. When I thought Aaron Gordon and Zach LaVine kind of caught my attention a little bit.
And speaking of Zach LaVine, tomorrow you can hear the interview that I had exclusively with him. But continue.
Yeah. I thought, so that's the last time I really, I was like, oh, wow. Like, oh, okay. But Vince Carter, I vividly remember thinking, wow, now the creativity, imagination, that's what I always look for. Now, was it impressive that a smaller guy, and I think the smaller players have an advantage, by the way.
Big time, because it just looks more impressive. There's a big gap between their feet and the floor.
It looks more impressive. And, give him credit. He came out and he performed. He made his dunks. He was prepared for the moment and all those things. But I wasn't like something I hadn't seen before. You know what I mean? I hadn't. I've seen this before. I've seen guys, do what he executed. Because in the end, a lot of guys can probably do that, but you got to do it when the lights are bright. So I want to give him credit, and the fact that, listen, man, that's a big thing for a guy who hadn't played a minute in the NBA to come in and win the NBA dunk contest. Yeah, what does that say about the guy? Like, but what is going on? Like, why did these guys not want to
the best dunker? But speaking of not wanting to play, we then had the All-Star game on Sunday night, and a lot of fans were unhappy about the way that the guys played that game. Like, the lack of intensity, there was no defense, they were just kind of standing around letting guys score. I personally really enjoyed the All-Star game. Because it's the one night of the year where I can feel like a kid again. Because whenever I watch the All-Star game, I remember being a young kid and staying up is like the biggest night of the year. Staying up, sneaking downstairs when everyone else in my house has gone to sleep, firing up an old computer with some rubbish dial-up internet and watching it in it's like pixels moving around the screen. It's not HD or anything. Right. And I'm excited. I'm excited to see the best players dunking and 3-pointers and all of this and all that. So it's the one night of the year where I don't have to analyze the game, because now when I watch basketball, I have to be on point. I'm analyzing everything that happens because I've got to come here and talk about it the next day. It's the one time of the year where I can actually relax and say, all right, I feel like a kid again. So from that perspective, I liked it, because really it is for kids. But for the majority of basketball fans, they were very unhappy with it. So BJ, what was your take on it?
Like, again, Mo, I want to maintain my professionalism because the game demands that, right?
Yes.
As a young kid, Mo, you as a young kid, myself, professional sports gave me a dream. And I always wanted to respect that dream by always respecting the game and respecting what comes before the NBA, professional sports, professional, this isn't like just a casual game. It's a professional game. in which, there's a level of respect. And I always wanted to respect the game, right? No matter where I was playing. Even when I shoot in the backyard with my kids, I want to always respect that. And I hold the game in that regard, Mo. It's been everything for me. And I respect it, the way I talk about it, the people that play it. And I love the game. I love it, right? And I was very fortunate. And I just say it, but I was able to make a living doing it. But truly, I love it. Like, I just love the game. And I don't know if that's good or bad or different, but I love it and I hold it in a very high regard. When I saw it, I was like, oh wow, like, that's not professional sports, right? You have to compete. You have to compete. You can't play and not compete. Like that's if you want to be in professional sports, that's rule number one. Like, I can't violate that. Mo, we come out there, you're my friend, we host a show together. Mo, when we play, I have to compete. I don't do anything.
Yep.
And that's just what it is, Mo. You and I play table tennis, we play pool.
Oh, you don't want to play. You don't want to play table tennis with me, BJ. You don't want that.
Okay, well, well, that's what I'm saying. But maybe I don't want to play, but I can guarantee you this: I'm going to compete. I can guarantee that.
When I'm in LA next, we're gonna have to get some games cracking.
Yeah, exactly. That's how it works. Okay, that's how it works. And Mo, why I'm competing? You can believe this. I'm playing to win.
Okay,
you can believe that.
And so am I.
Absolutely. I much respect. And then, Mo, you know what? I'm going to bring my style. I'm going to bring my swag to that game. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be entertaining. We're going to talk a little trash. We're going to do a little this.
No, just a little. I'm talking a whole lot.
Let me go. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And that, to me, is professional sports, right?
Yeah.
That's professional sports. That's sports. That's what makes it great. I mean, now, I didn't see much of that, Bo. And I'm not saying it was right or wrong, but the game, Mo, it's not even about the players. It's about the game. It's the greatest game. It's the greatest team game. And I don't want that to ever suddenly come into our game where you're looking at a game of professional athletes and you say they don't compete. Mm-hmm. That's the game demands that. The respect of the game. Now, the players, I'm sure they have their reasons for whatever was going on. Again, I'm not on the floor. I don't know. But certainly, Mo, I would hope that the game of basketball, the game that you and I love and that our listeners love and that everyone, millions of people around the world love, it's one thing I know, Mo, that we all can respect and enjoy, and we can all share a common theme is we love to see people compete. Mm-hmm. And I didn't see much of that Sunday night, okay? And that concerned me a little bit because, Mo, that's the core of the game, whether it's an all-star game, whether it's a pickup game, whether, Mo, like you're just in the backcourt shooting, somehow the game gets competitive, right? You know what I mean?
I'd be shooting on my own, competing against myself.
That's what I'm saying. Like, Mo, if you and I were in the back, it's going to go for first, we're going to take a couple shots, and then Mo's going to say, and I'm going to say, hey, let's play a game of horse. The game at some point is going to turn competitive. Yep. Mo, let's play a little one-on-one.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Get it. The game, it may start off fun, but it's just the human condition, Mo. Mm-hmm. I don't know what happened on Sunday. I don't know what happened.
Well.
I don't. Yeah.
I want to bring it back to this because our last episode before All-Star, you said the one thing we will see in this game is we will see who's really the guy. And the one player to me that stood out that was competing was Jason Tatum. He competed
and Jason Tatum, he had like
1-on-1 with his teammates, set the All-Star record, scoring 55 points in one game. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And, the other players on his team were deferring to him, giving him the ball. They knew he was on a hot streak.
And I respect that.
And what's interesting to me, the last 5 All-Star MVPs have been the last 5 NBA Finals MVPs. Last year, Steph was the MVP of the All-Star game, was the Finals MVP. Year before, Giannis, MVP of the All-Star game, MVP of the Finals. My question is, BJ, has Jason Tatum showed you he's that guy?
It was great. When you said that, I was like, wait a minute. I know Kawhi Leonard was the MVP, and did they win it that year?
It wasn't the same year, but the last 5 guys to win it have all gone on to be Finals MVPs after they've won it.
Okay. Yeah, because Kawhi was like in 2020, right? Wasn't he?
Yeah. So it was like this year was Jason Tatum. Last year was Steph Curry, who won a championship. The year before was Giannis. The year before was Kawhi, who was just coming off a championship run. The year before was Kevin Durant, who just came off a championship run. And the year before was LeBron James, who obviously then went on to win a championship. So even if we take it as the last 2, you know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah. So I think the one thing that I will say is, listen, Jason Tatum arguably has been the best player from start to finish all year. I mean, and he was shining the brightest amongst the very best. So that was good to see. I would venture to say this about the Celtics. Jason Tatum feels, I'm sure now, his confidence is sky high coming off of this. And it probably will spill over into these final 20 games of the season.
And he had 55, and Jaylen Brown led the other team in scoring with 35.
And that to me was great, because I thought Jaylen Brown had something to accomplish, which was playing with that mask on.
Yep.
To see how, okay. So again, yeah, the game is fine. And I get it. I understand it. But Mo, when you play, like when you play in the summer, you would play harder than that. Yeah. Okay. Mo, we see all of the things over on Instagram, and you show me all the videos of guys playing and working out and all that stuff. They play harder in that in the summer than they do at All-Star Weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And that Mo, just kind of like, because we have a captive audience, and Mo, you got all these young people watching, like, and I was saying to myself, like, okay, now when the kids go to coach, I felt really bad. You know who I felt bad for? Were all of the youth coaches around the world. Because now guys are going to be like, well, this is how they play. And you got to like go there and say, well, no, that was an all-star game and don't play.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know what
I get it. But like, I think if you're watching the all-star game and thinking that's how you're supposed to play, that's a bigger problem. Like if you need to be, if that's the only game you've watched and you think that's how to play every other game, the playoffs.
Yeah. Well, I think, but that's my point. If you're watching the very best of the best, where else are you going to learn how to play? Like, where are you going to see it? That's the point. Like, it's a concern. Now, again, I'm not harping on the guys. It is what it is. But I will say this. I think Jason Tatum made a statement. And if there's anything that can come out of this weekend, is that Jason Tatum thinks he's the best player now in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
And the most fascinating thing, what, more than the game, because I don't put much emphasis on the game as much, but what's fascinating to me about it were the draft picks. Now I did pay attention to the draft picks.
That was amazing. And that was great fun doing it just before the game.
Yeah. Now the fact that, like I saw Damian Lillard was the first pick, I thought was like fascinating to me. I never would have guessed that Anthony Edwards would be the next pick.
Yeah.
First pick for the LeBron James team.
Yeah.
Here's something that was just blew my mind, right? Here's a guy that could potentially be back-to-back, and if he wins it again this year, MVP, was the last guy chosen.
No. That didn't blow my mind. Because he's not.
That blew my mind.
Because even when like Luka was a late pick as well, Jokic a late pick. These guys are slow. They ain't sprinting up and down trying to do 360 dunks on the fast break. They ain't playing. Yeah,
that's fine.
Well, none of them are playing defense, but I wasn't surprised that Jokic was one of the last picks.
Yeah, that blew my mind. That blew my mind. That just blew dunking and all of that. Okay, all right. If that's one of the requirements to be a great player, you got a guy who is the back-to-back MVP, who is arguably playing better this year than the previous 2 years. And just to think, like if there was a pickup game, because that's all it is.
I think if it was a competitive game, he wouldn't be the last pick, though.
Okay.
You ain't picking Sabonis.
I'm just saying what I saw. What I saw. I don't know what, okay, and you feel free to make your point. I just thought it was fascinating to me that Jokic, and I was like, wow. I was like, okay, so what are we saying here? Like, what are we saying about the game? Like, what are we saying? And because he is, without question, one of the elite players.
It also speaks
what
to
are the players saying?
How popular are these European players amongst their peers? You know, because I saw Giannis picked Siakam, and he says, I'm picking my African brother, Siakam. Then he picks Bam Adebayo. That's obviously the reserves. When it comes to picking stars, how popular are Doncic and Jokic amongst their peers? Because there is some level of popularity that comes into it as well. I don't think it's draft purely on who's the best player. Because if you said to these guys, okay, you guys do this draft and you're going to play a competitive game of basketball, there's no way that he's one of the last picks. There's no way. That would be insane. But because they know it's not a serious game, I think
the fact that I would have to tell professional players to be competitive, to me just seems.
Yeah, I think that's the bigger problem that Jokic being one of the last picks. Like
it just seems so.
And he wasn't one of the last picks. The reason why he looked like the last pick is because they wanted to do the reserves before the starters, so that they weren't in a position where someone is known as the last pick. Because the starters are the highest voted players anyway. So even by being the last picked star, you are still
I'm not player overall. Whether you the reserves or the starters, the thing that remains to me, whether if Jokic walks in the gym as the back-to-back MVP, right? It was just, I don't care what the scenario is, competitive, not competitive, whatever. This guy is the back-to-back MVP of the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, not of like some rec league or some college player. He's the MVP of the NBA. Whether he's a starter voted in by the fans or a reserve, it doesn't matter to me. The fact that whatever the selection process that took place, that he was one of the final remaining players. And when I say last, I mean just whatever that segment was, I just thought it was a fascinating observation to say, okay, what are we saying here? You know, I'm trying to think, okay, so you said, okay, he can't run, he can't dunk, he can't do that. I was like, okay, Larry Bird couldn't do it either. But I don't think under any circumstances would Larry Bird
a different
ever...
game. But it's a different game back then, because back then you're not complaining about the guys not competing. It's a different game.
No. There's a ball, there's a basket. The game has evolved. The players, this has nothing to do with that game and this game.
No, the All-Star game fascinating. Is a different game.
What I'm saying is, I just think it's fascinating that his peers, the peers, just listening to the players, this has nothing to do with the game. For me, maybe for you it does. It was fascinating to think that I could be in a gym with Larry Bird.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I could be in a gym with a guy who was back-to-back MVP.
Maybe the players don't want him to be back-to-back MVP. Maybe they didn't like the fact he won MVP.
I don't. Again, it was just an observation to watch the players say something without saying anything, and that to me, I found fascinating. That's all I'm saying. I'm not arguing with anything you're saying, the game or whatever. I'm not taking. It was just like
interesting. Wow, it's definitely noteworthy. So we're going to get back to the court because on Thursday night there is going to be more NBA action, and there have been some movements around the league. Before we get to the players, Nate McMillan dismissed as coach of the Atlanta Hawks. Thoughts?
I'm a huge Nate McMillan fan, as you know.
Same.
I'm a huge Nate McMillan fan, and very unfortunate. It's just unfortunate because when you it's hard to win up here in this NBA, and you hear me say this all the time. It's hard to win. Like everyone says, oh, well, we want to win a championship. Well, no, it's hard to win, let alone do that. Now, Mo, it's hard to win where you can't defend. It's hard to win, Mo, when guys are in and out. It's hard to win when you start making trades and all these things. Now, Mo, if you win and things come together, hey, man, that's a bonus. Like, watching the Sacramento Kings, you're going, wow. You're going, man, that's watching the Indiana Pacers this year. You're like, they're a little ahead of schedule, right? When you start seeing teams perform a little ahead, because you know how hard that is. Well, that's just not an easy process. This is not easy. Now, all of a sudden, you've had a couple of coaches now in the last, 3 to 4 years over there?
Yeah. You had Lloyd Pierce and then Nate McMillan came in to save them.
So what happened from the time they get to the Eastern Conference Finals to now? And arguably, they have a better roster than the one that got to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yep, and that was under Nate McMillan.
I don't get it. So, I'm a Nate McMillan fan. I think the roster of the Atlanta Hawks is a roster that should have expectations on it.
Should be above 500.
They have underperformed, as I've said many times, and for what are the various reasons now. And because I'm not in the locker room, I always defer to the people who make those decisions because I'm like, okay, they have to know their team better than I do, just watching. But certainly, I think we can all agree that they've underperformed, and we'll see if this latest move will help them.
Well, let's talk about your former team, the Chicago Bulls. They just signed Patrick Beverley, the hometown hero, is coming back to Chi-Town. Pat Bev, who's hilarious. He goes, the East is weak. I'm coming to save the Chicago Bulls. We're playing against the Lakers twice. I'm going to knock them out of the play-in and get us into the playoffs. I love his confidence. I think they said that the choice for Patrick Beverley was between the Golden State Warriors and the Chicago Bulls. And he said that he chose the Bulls because the East is weak. The real reason he chose the Bulls is because he doesn't want to be behind Steph Curry and Jordan Poole in a rotation and get way less minutes. Chicago Bulls have now shut down Lonzo Ball for the entire season. Who's their point guard now? What, Kobe White? Dragic? What do you think he brings? Do you think that they're going to have any noticeable improvement? Because he's not had a very good season. And forgive me, they have Io who plays at the one now. So,
yeah. We just watched them, Mo, in Paris, recently live. Well, that was just 2-3 weeks ago or something.
4 it feels like maybe a lifetime, but yeah, it's like a month ago now.
Yeah, about a month ago now.
3 weeks, yeah.
Well, here's what I think. I think the Bulls, if you've been following for Bulls Nation, they've lost a lot of big leads late in the fourth quarter. And there has been some rumblings there about their defense and about, grit and all those things. And I think they see an opportunity to add a defensive guy to this mix.
Yeah.
Along with Caruso and those guys. So
and a locker room presence as well, because look at what he did with the Timberwolves.
Yeah, I mean, there's only 20-something games, so I don't know how much locker room and all that stuff will.
Yeah, well, they'll try and re-sign him this summer, I guess.
Yeah, I doubt it, but maybe you know something I don't know. I mean,
we'll see.
If Lonzo comes back, Lonzo comes back.
I'm worried about Lonzo. That's another comment. I'm worried about that kid.
Yeah. So we'll see. It looks to me, if you're asking me, I don't know if you're asking me, but it sounds like you're asking like what do I think?
Yeah.
You know, they're going to need to improve their point guard play, right? And you've heard me say it, Mo, and I'll just reiterate it. You need a player who can play downhill. You need a player who can apply pressure on the defense at that position, especially in today's game. And if there's one thing, with no disrespect to the players that are currently doing it, you have to do that at a very high level. They have terrific wings in Zach LaVine and all-star DeMar DeRozan.
Yep. So subscribe so you can hear the Zach LaVine interview tomorrow.
Okay. Vucevic, I mean, Vooch, you can play pick and pop with him. He can score a little bit on the box.
Spacing, yeah.
But they really need a player. Yeah, but you really need a player who can play downhill. And Lonzo did that for them.
And also, Vooch isn't a very good rim protector. So it's important to have good guards on the perimeter so that the other team's guards can't penetrate and get to the rim in the first place.
Yeah.
And
that player who fit them was Lonzo Ball, right? He was good on the defensive end and he could play downhill.
Yep. And he could shoot.
It'll be interesting to see how you're going to play with Pat Bev at 20 games into the season. You know, he's not a high percentage shooter from three, so you're not going to ask him to suddenly do that. He's not a guy who plays downhill. So it's going to be interesting to see how they incorporate him with this team, because the Bulls need to win every game possible. That's just what it is. And then, you know, we'll see how it plays out. You know, he has a lot of confidence. You know, I think anyone who watches basketball, you're going to like Pat Bev's energy. He's certainly going to give you everything he has. However, we'll see how this fits, how his talent fits with this group. And hopefully for the Bulls and Bulls Nation that it fits well, because they're going to need everything they can get here if they're going to make the playoffs. Because I think if they don't make the playoffs, I think the Bulls would consider this, you know, I think they would consider this a failure of a season if they don't get to the playoffs.
Definitely. Well, the point guard that they were linked with, speaking of playing downhill, was Russell Westbrook, but he instead chose to sign with the LA Clippers. They've got a pretty stacked team on paper, because everyone's not always available, but they've added Russell Westbrook. Now, I think being coached by Ty Lue, you know, having that experience now of coming off the bench, he's going to be able to go in and fill a defined role. And I don't think it's going to go as badly as most fans are saying. What do you think about that pickup for the Clippers? Because I know he wanted to stay in LA. That's where his family is. That's where he's from. I'm happy for him staying in LA, staying in the league. But how do you think that's going to work out with the Clippers?
You know, Mo, you know, I have to answer these questions with great humility, because I'm just going to say it. I don't know how this is going to work out. Like, it's just like watching the All-Star game. Like, I don't know, Mo. I don't know, Mo. I'm watching. I know what it used to be. Everyone tells me the game has evolved.
In terms of the fit with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George on the court with Russell Westbrook.
Okay. So you have a team where your best two players literally haven't been available, whether it's load managed or injuries or what have you. Okay. Right. Okay. I'm just telling you what I see.
Mm-hmm.
Kawhi Leonard is without question your best player. Kawhi Leonard alone gives you hope. If he's available on that floor, you're saying this guy is probably a top 5, top 10 player at worst in the NBA on both sides of the basketball.
Yes.
Arguably, you could say he's in the elite top 5 right now, and he's coming off an ACL injury.
Yep.
Okay, Mo? Okay. What we know, Mo, he's had not one, but 2 significant lower extremity injuries. Okay. I don't know what that means now, Mo, because, you know, they tell me medicine is better. The players are healthier. We're load managing. So, all right, are we saying he's injured, or are we saying he's healthy and we're just getting him to the play? Mo, I don't know that answer. I see him play. He'll score 30. and then the next game he doesn't play the next week. I don't know what that means now, Mo. Okay, maybe you do. I don't know. Then you start adding Bones Highland. You start adding Mason Plumlee. You start adding Russell Westbrook. Mo, I don't know what this means now. I don't. Okay, I'm just telling you what I see. Now, what I understand is that team chemistry matters. There's only one way to do that. You got to play and get the rhythm, and you figure out rotations. You figure out your identity. Mo, I don't know what Russell brings to this group. I don't know if Kawhi Leonard is healthy or not. I don't know if Paul George is healthy or not. I don't, Mo, if you're asking me late in the game, who's going to take the shot?
Kawhi.
Is it Russell? Well, excuse me. Is it Russell? Is it Kawhi? Is it Paul George? I don't know. Well, so the best I can tell you, Mo, is they've assembled a lot of names. They, without question, they had a lot of depth. Clearly, they're going for it. How it works, I have no idea, Mo. But this is the NBA, and we're going to see.
Yeah, well, he has played with Paul George before, so that's a positive. But I think what we do know, BJ, there is one thing that we do know for definite amongst all of this. There's only one place that you need to be to find out how this all goes, and that place is the Hoop Genius podcast. So if you've not yet subscribed, subscribe and put on your notification, because tomorrow you're going to hear my conversation with Zach LaVine. We talked about why he's not doing a dunk contest again. We talked about why it's easier to score in the NBA right now. We talked about
why is he not doing a dunk contest, Mo? Don't make me wait until tomorrow.
Well, BJ,
I need to find out.
BJ, you got to subscribe and put on a notification, just like everyone else.
I mean, I want to see, Mo. I want to see. Is it asking too much, Mo? Okay, let me ask you this as a fan. I want to see the best players that dunk in the game, dunk in the contest. Is that asking too much?
I'm not mad at Zach LaVine for not doing a dunk contest.
Okay.
I'm not mad. I'm not mad.
Is it asking too much?
Because you'll hear his answer of why he doesn't do it. And I think his reasoning is valid. No, but I also don't consider him one of the best dunkers in the NBA anymore. If we had to pick this year's dunk contest, right? Let's take it back. If we had to pick this year's dunk contest right now, give me the 4 names you want to see. Ja Morant, Zion Williamson, they're on the books. Anthony Edwards, I think that's a no-brainer. And then give me one more. Or is there anyone else that you have in that?
But for me, all right, I'll say it again. I love the creativity. Just because you dunk well, there are some guys who dunk well or phenomenal in the game, and there are some guys who have creative stuff, right? Okay, just because, like, for instance, Anthony Edwards, amazing dunks in the game, amazing, incredible, wow moments. But that doesn't mean that he has the creative spirit that we just saw with the kid Mac McClung, right?
Yeah. There are certain... I'll give you that. Okay, but we've seen Zion and Ja in other situations do really creative dunks. We've seen them do dunks that are almost the same as what Mac McClung did. Talking about 540s, talking about through the leg alley-oops to themselves, talking about jumping over people. We know they can do that. So who's the 4 guys that you want to see this season? Give me your, if you could have picked,
I would love, if I could pick right now, because I want to see, based on what I've seen. Okay.
Yes.
Based on what I've seen, I want to see Aaron Gordon and Zach LaVine in it. Why? Because they were competing. That means something to me.
Okay.
Like those two guys can't be in the gym and the competitive juices don't flow.
Yeah.
Like I just want to see those guys walk in the gym and say, what are they going to say to each other? They got to dunk. They have to compete.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
even though it has been 7 years since they did that. But okay.
Yeah. But I want to see those two guys. It's just like Jordan and Dominique. If they walked in the gym right now and they're both in Jordan's 60 now. You know there's going to be a little trash.
Happy birthday to
There's going to be a little
birthday.
Yeah. There's going to be a little trash talking going on. Okay.
Yeah.
That just
okay. So you want to see those two?
I want to see Zach. I want to see those two. You know, I like the kid that was from
New Orleans.
From New Orleans.
Oh, Trey Murphy.
From New Orleans. I thought he was creative. I thought that what he did with Alvarado, I thought that was pretty creative.
That was good for a first round dunk. That was good for a first round dunk. Get the crowd warmed up, get everyone excited. I like that.
Yeah, I thought creative. And who else would I like to see in the dunk contest? Because to me, it's all about creativity. Remember when Gerald Green and these guys were doing things like, yep. I was like, oh yeah, like,
give me one more name.
I would like to see Ja Morant. I really would.
He's must-see TV, we always call him. He released his new sneaker that they were doing an activation for at All-Star Weekend. He is quite short compared to other NBA players, so they look impressive. He was in the All-Star game doing 360s and windmills. So just do it. And he came out and said a few years ago, give me $1 million and I'll do it. Bro, you got the max contract. You got the max rookie extension. Please do the dunk contest.
Well, like, again, I understand. I think if you were to ask me, Mo, as you know, Mo, I'm big into hip hop. I'm big into music and entertainment. Yes. I live out here in LA, so I'm big into like entertainment. And I've gotten a chance to know some of the biggest producers or whatever. And I'm not throwing names out because I'm not that type, but I always like to like what are you looking for? What do you look for a big time musician or musical act? And I remember this guy told me this one time, this big time producer, he said, you always look for people. You always look for that one person that has the ability to stand when the lights get bright and perform all by themselves. Now, I'm going to tell you something, Mo. I'm going to tell you something here that's a very awkward feeling for a lot of players. I don't know this to be true, but I suspect it to be true. Mm-hmm. When you take the floor in an NBA game, Mo, you walk out there and you got your 11. Well, now it's more, but you walk out there as a team.
Yeah.
Right. You walk out there and you walk out there, Mo, and now introducing, whatever team, and you walk out there as a team. I'm going to tell you something, Mo, that's very, very lonely. You walk out there, Mo, and it's just you. And It's 25,000 people just looking at you. And Mo, I suspect.
Yeah. No, I hear it. I hear Kenzie was talking about
Mo, I suspect. Okay, Mo, because I remember that feeling, Mo, when I walked out there to do the little 3-point contest. Mm-hmm. And Mo, it was the first time, Mo, that I was in a sold out place, and the eyes weren't on the team. When I'm playing in a team, it's just like I'm just one of the guys. And Mo, I remember thinking for just a second, I had like a little, like it was one of those things I didn't prepare for. I was prepared for the event, I was prepared for everything, and all of a sudden, Mo, they called my name, and it was just me.
Yeah, it's not. And I remember guard from the University of Iowa.
Yeah.
PJ Armstrong.
So yes, and Mo, it was one. I remember I was like, oh, this is just me, and it was just a second, and then I regrouped real quickly, and then I went on. Mm-hmm. I would imagine, though, Mo, for the dunk contest, though, there's a pause. And it's a long pause.
Longer than the pauses Mo, you take on this podcast.
Yes. It's a long pause. And Mo, I would imagine that can be a fright. This is just the human side of me now. I don't know this. I haven't confirmed it, but I'm just imagining that there's a little stage fright there. Because Mo, it's just you, Mo. And everybody, as my producer friend told me, everybody can't hold that camera, Mo, can't hold that bright light when it's just shining on you.
Yeah.
And I would suspect, Mo, that is the true issue. And Mo, that kid Kenyon Martin, who I think is a phenomenal dunker, you know, when you miss a dunk, Mo, it's like when you miss a dunk in a game, you're a little embarrassed. Imagine missing a dunk, Mo, and there's nobody else.
Yeah.
There's no defense there. You know what I mean? I'm just looking at the human side of this.
Yeah.
So I think, Mo, that is probably what the most are a little. I think there's a little uncomfortable.
John Moran, aka Mr. I'm never ducking smoke.
I don't think he's
now got a G leaguer coming in and saying anyone can come and challenge me, and he still don't want to do it. I think that's a little afraid. I personally
think this. You're uncomfortable. There's a part of you, Mo, that has to be comfortable being uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
There's a part of you, Mo, where you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And most of us, Mo, and it's no knock on anybody. Like, I had to learn this myself. If you're going to do anything that's worthwhile, that's great or anything, it's an uncomfortable feeling. Okay? Mo, you can win a championship and have a bad game.
Mm-hmm.
But when you do something that's just you, Mo, that's a very uncomfortable situation. Okay? So I would imagine having that uncomfortable feeling is something that most people don't want to have as they ascend up the ladder. And that, to me, is probably why most guys don't compete. Because if you start competing, Mo, if you start competing, you also got to deal with the failure of competing. Mo, if I try to beat you and start competing, Mo, and I lose, I got to deal with that uncomfortable feeling of saying, go ahead.
There ain't no run it back either. Because you see, if I ever lose,
no, that's what I'm saying.
PJ, if I ever lose at anything, if you beat me at ping pong, if you beat me at 1-on-1, you beat me at horse, I'm saying double or nothing. We're running it back there and then. But if you lose the dunk contest, you can't say let's run it back. You just lost.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So I get it. Like, and Mo, that to me is what makes sports great. You got to deal with the repercussions of what's going to happen. Like, Mo, I'm playing against you. I'm doing my best. It's harder for me to admit to you I did my best and lose than to go out there and not compete and say, hey, man, we would just play. Yeah, see, to me, Mo, that is the true feeling of competition. It's not all. I can tell you, Mo, about all my wins, but Mo, truly, what made the league great? If you really want to know what I really enjoy most about the NBA, it's figuring it out. And I got more losses than wins.
Everyone does.
I missed more shots than I made. And my greatest lessons were always in defeat. Why? Because I was forced to say, this guy was really, really good. And because he's really, really good, I have to be at my very, very best in order to beat that person. Mm-hmm. And Mo, that to me is a greater feeling than just saying, hey, man, I won a game. Me and Mo had a shooting contest and it didn't really matter. That's my boy.
Yeah, no, I don't do
that. That to me, the uncomfortable feeling of saying, I'm going at Mo and Mo's going at me. He's going to come in. That's an uncomfortable feeling, Mo. So most people aren't comfortable with that. So I'm more comfortable in being uncomfortable, Mo, than just saying, hey, me and Mo went out in the backyard and we took 10 shots each.
BJ, you know what this is doing? It's making me want to fly to LA right now and come and play some 1-on-1. That's all I can think about doing right now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Mo, it should, because competition, that's what makes sports amazing. Mo, you versus me, and we're going at our best. And you know what, Mo? And guess what? Guess what happens at the end of the game? We get a chance to say, run that back. Mo, we just witnessed the greatest pickup game in the history, and no one was there to say, let's run that back.
Yeah.
Mo, Mo, remember this? I think it was an all-star. I think it was an all-star game. I can't remember. Didn't Dwayne Wade break the late Kobe Bryant's nose in the all-star game, right?
And then the Lakers played the Heat like 4 days after the All-Star break, and Kobe went at him. Mo, but
to me,
I tweeted this earlier though. Because Kobe had a great quote about the All-Star game saying everyone should be playing the hardest. You play harder in the summertime playing pickup. And everyone's posting that quote today. So my question was, how many players can you name in the NBA right now that mentally approach the game in the same way as Kobe Bryant? How many players, no matter where they are in the world, what they're doing in the world, whether they're in the Garden, whether they're in the park, whether they're on the NBA, whether they're in the All-Star game, approach the game in the same way like Kobe Bryant, where he only has one gear. He doesn't have a first gear, second gear. His gear is sixth gear, and he's going hard. How many players? Maybe Giannis is the closest we get, but none of them are built like Kobe Bryant anymore. And when there's no players like that, the energy is infectious, right? When there's players like Kobe Bryant around who are competing at the highest level, you have to compete. If Kobe Bryant is talking trash to you the whole way down the court in the All-Star game and scoring on you,
you got to compete.
You have to compete. And then if that's happening, your teammates have to compete. And if that's happening, his teammates have to compete. And that's how it spreads. But there's not one guy that was on the court in the All-Star game that's built like that. That's why Kobe Bryant is Kobe Bryant. And all these other guys, they go around Mamba mentality this, Mamba mentality that. None of them have got it like Kobe. Kobe's one of one.
You know what, Mo? You know what else I used to love in the All-Star game? But again, I like competition. Remember when certain guys wouldn't play a lot of minutes in the All-Star game? And then when that player played against that coach in the All-Star, played in the regular season. In the regular season, he would always torch.
Oh, you don't think I'm an All-Star, huh? You don't think I'm an All-Star, huh?
I'm an All-Star, Mo. Like what I really want to see, like what I really want to see right now is like, I don't know. I try to find things that always motivated me. Like I'm Jokic right now. I would be turned on 50 right now to think, oh, hey Mo,
he might just be.
Can you imagine, Mo, if he was turned on 50? Imagine that happening to like players in my generation.
Yeah.
If they were choosing guys and they said, oh, we got mad at guys because they thought they didn't pass them the ball. We got mad at guys because
I don't even think that's go far back as starter. Like I think even like 2000s. Like think about if Gilbert Arenas, who was never in the same caliber as Kobe Bryant, but if Gilbert Arenas was the last pick, guess what he's doing the next game?
Oh no, he's
giving you 60.
That's what I'm saying, Mo. That's what I'm saying.
You go tell Tracy McGrady, go tell Baron Davis he's the last pick. Go on, I dare you.
Mo, that's all I want to see. Like compete, like be uncomfortable. Make this uncomfortable for everyone. Like make this uncomfortable, because that's where the players are at their best. That's when the coaches are at their best. That's when the league is at their best. When the fans come to the game, Mo, you're like, okay, I don't like that team, but I respect that team because you know what they're going to do, Mo. They're going to show up and they're going to go hard, Mo. When I played against the Jazz. I had the utmost respect for John Stockton, but you know what? That wasn't the time for me to be shaking his hand.
No,
that dude was going to do whatever was necessary. And the screens that were coming from all different directions, they weren't there to say hello. Okay, Mo, they were trying to knock me out.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And Mo, that's John Stockton, man. Everyone said, some people said he was dirty. I didn't think he was dirty. I just thought the guy laid it out on the line every night.
Wants to win.
One of my favorite players to play against. I respected how he played the game. I respected his preparation for the game. And Mo, the guy did what was ever necessary. He was a physical player, Mo, and he was no big. We were like the same size. I admired the fact how he would sacrifice, like he would just run his body. I tried to take that and say, you know what? If this little guy can do it, I can do it too. You know, I mean, these were, Patrick Ewing and all these guys, like he would just lay his body right out. And I was thinking, man, who is this dude? Like,
well, according to JJ Redick, that wasn't a physical era. So shout out to JJ.
It is what it is. But what I do know is that, all of this going to the basket and all that stuff, and you guys weren't doing that. Okay. But Mo, I don't want to get on the I just want us and anyone who plays the game. No, it's not about any era. It's not about who's the best, who's the GOAT, and all those discussions. Those are just fun and games that we like to have in all these talk shows. But there's a respect that we must have for the game.
Yeah.
That the game, and well, that's what brings us all together. That's why we watch it. That's why you and I are talking about it. And when you see people who love the game, I don't care where you're from in the world, I'll talk to those people and we could talk basketball anytime. I just love the game.
Even if they don't speak English, we'll just go hoop.
Yeah, Mo, it's the greatest.
Bro, I've been in other countries, not able to speak a word to anyone, but they're playing ball. I say, yo. And I'm pointing at me, I'm pointing at the court. Let me get in. I'm trying to hoop.
Yeah, and
we go hard.
And I love it.
I'm talking shit to them, and they don't even know what I'm saying. And they're saying stuff to me, and I don't know what they're saying, but I know they're saying something. And I have to destroy that.
And I love it. So I just try to maintain those 3 principles with me no matter what, and apply them and pass that on to the youth, because when I go see my youngest son play, 7 years old, I tell him the same thing. Just do your very best. Doesn't matter whether he makes a shot, misses a shot. Do your very best. And did you have fun? Dad, I had a lot of fun. And you did your best. Great. Let's go get some McDonald's after the game. Hey, what more can you ask? Like, it's just that simple. Yeah, a little Chick-fil-A, whatever it is you want. You did your best. And you had fun doing it. Mo, what's wrong with that?
I bet.
That's not asking too much. You know what I mean? So,
Mo,
that's it.
I hear you. Stay tuned, because when I go out to LA, play BJ one-on-one, and then go get a Chick-fil-A afterwards, it's going to be amazing.
Look at that. You're competing against me, Mo. And then now I got to come back. But see, Mo, don't make it. Hey, Mo. Don't go there, Mo. That's all I'm going to tell you. Don't go there.
Hey, I tell you, as we started this episode, we talking about dropping 30. I'm going to have to drop 30 on you first before we go anywhere else. So just be ready. That's all I'm saying. OG.
Okay.
All right. That's another episode of the Hoop Genius podcast, brought to you by NBA 2K23. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you hit the bell and get your notifications on, because tomorrow an exclusive interview with Zach LaVine is dropping. You do not want to miss that. And also, BJ, I want to say thank you and congratulations, because tomorrow will be our 250th episode of this podcast that we started just over a year ago. So shout out to you for showing up every day. Shout out to the listeners who show up every day. Shout out to the subscribers. It's all love each and every time. And guess what? The next 250 are going to be even bigger and better than this 250. I promise you. I promise you. We leveling up. Don't go anywhere. Don't miss an episode. Don't miss a single snippet of the show. And most importantly, get buckets.